Hello and welcome to Sebring in Florida for round 4 of the VMS eSports Pro Series, the gold split, ready to resume here. We're here at this 7.5 mile circuit, or 6 kilometers if you prefer that system of measurement. Then 17 corners await our drivers here at this classic circuit in the southeastern United States. My name is Edward Hunter. Joining me in the commentary box is my co-commentator, Sverry Coleman, affectionately known as Stevie, and our broadcast director, Omet, as well as a very buzzy fly that has joined me in my room. So apologies if anybody can hear that hitting the lampshade in the background, but hopefully it won't be anywhere near as loud as all the hypercars and GT3s set to do battle today. Let's go straight into our championship standings in GT3. As you can see, this is the result of the previous round in Qatar, won by Jacko Matrese, with Alexandre Lay putting in a great comeback to finish P2. Alexander Hanna took P3 to round out the podium from Matteo Di Buono, Artyom Manisha in the Corvette, Valentin Kalkov in the Ferrari, Valentin Barrier in the second Lexus, Luke Addison, who we think is not here tonight, in the Lamborghini. Eric Nonnenmacher was 9th, and then Julian Weisenberger in the Aston Martin rounded out the top 10. Meanwhile, in hypercars, oh no, this is the overall standings. Sorry. In GT3, Jacko Matrese leads on 62 points, 9 points ahead of Alexandre Lay, with Valentin Barrier, fellow Lexus, a few points down in third on 36. Alexander Hanna is on 34. Matteo Di Buono, 27. Julian Weisberger is in 6th on 22 points. Artyom Manisha on 18 points. Luke Addison on 14. Valentin Kalkov is 9th on 8 points, equal with Clement Arbois, who rounds out the top 10. So there we go, GT3 qualifying already underway. Let's introduce to the broadcast, give him a chance to get a word in edgeways. It's Sverry Coleman. So Stevie, welcome to sunny Sebring. We are looking at an evening start, sort of 6 p.m. in terms of in-game time. With daylight savings, it might be quite confusing to start mentioning times of days. But here is Artyom Manisha starting his first flying laps, of course, and some impressive performances from the Corvette, particularly in qualifying, and occasionally he's starting to put it together in the races as well. So a bit of a dark horse here at the local track for the Corvettes here in the United States, isn't it, as he negotiates through Cunningham Corner and towards Tower Bend. This is quite a punishing circuit, very bumpy in places, and it's bound to catch out the unwary.
Yeah, it sure is. And as you say, he's been quite a surprise in the lonely Corvette in the field. It's not really the fastest car in game, but he manages to get some good results in here and there. Well, of course, the bumps are... The circuit's famous for the bumps, of course. It's very easy to get caught out on those as he makes his way through Le Mans Curve towards the Almond Strait. So it's going to be very tricky for these drivers tonight to keep the car in one piece and not make any major mistakes, especially in the final corner, the Sunset Bend, which will be coming up in just a few moments here for Manisha. There we go. It's very bumpy on the entry, very easy to bottom out and lose the car entirely. So it's going to be very tricky for these drivers to keep it in one piece in the race, especially given the weather circumstances that we're going to be having. Because I think it's both going to be dark and it might be raining a bit as well.
Indeed, you're absolutely spot on there, Stevie. So that's going to be another spanner in the works they've got to deal with then. As you can see, is that Jean-Baptiste Thomas that leads the standings at the moment, just 8 thousandths ahead of Valentin Kalkov there. So very, very close to the Aston and the Ferrari. Manisha third in the Corvette, Vianney fourth in another Aston, and then our championship leader Jacko Matrese yet to get a representative time in. So that's why he's about 5.5 seconds off the pace, and you can see him rapidly going down the leaderboard. As you see Alexandre Lay as well, he is going to definitely be one of our favourites for pole. He's got, I think, 2 so far this season, hasn't Lay? One in the opening round in Fuji and another in Imola, where they were so dominant. Qatar, very, very different story, where Matrese was able to really control things from the front, and Lay was the one fighting through the pack then. So the big question is this going to be a Lexus circuit? We saw in the Platinum Split a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, that surprisingly, I think the Mustang and Nicholas Hoopen was quite strong, finished on the podium, but it was basically Aston versus Lexus, funny enough, with I think it was the Lexus of our reigning champion Patrick Schindler that won in GT3 in the end, even though he got jumped at the very, very start by one of the Astons, I think, if memory serves. Now, Jean-Baptiste Thomas has gone nearly 2 seconds faster in the first sector alone and 3 tenths in the middle sectors. That really shows you track evolution as this session continues to elapse is going to be a big factor.
Yeah, and of course as well with the tires very cold coming out of the pits, and the lap starts quite quickly with the pit lane not being on the main straight but on the almond straight just before the start-finish line on this track. So you start your first flying lap with very cold tires. So especially during the first sector, you will see those massive gains on the second flying lap here as he comes through the sunset bend up towards the start-finish straight. Let's see what type of lap he can put in. The quickest lap time is a 2:02 at the moment by Valentin Kaukov, and Jean-Baptiste Thomas he stays in P2, 4 tenths down on Kaukov. So at the moment it's advantage to the purple Ferrari there of the Fischer Racing team. You see those guys all over the championship as Materesi sets an identical lap time to Kaukov there in the Aston. Now Kaukov did put a lap in first, so he will get the provisional pole at the moment. You see Materesi going very wide there as well. But it's an identical lap time at the moment. Jumped both by Alexander Ley.
Yeah, there we go. Lexus back on top then at the moment. 201.9 as Nonimaka puts in a very impressive lap there. So this seems to be, surprisingly, a pretty strong circuit for the Ferrari 296. And I bet that's going to be nightmare to the ears of Luke Whitehead, who had to miss this round in the Platinum Split and was the only Ferrari driver in GT3, of course, being a Ferrari eSports driver. I just want to mention in the YouTube chat you can vote for who you think will take the LMGT3 pole position. The choices are between Alexander Ley, Valentin Kaukov, Valentin Berrier and Giacomo Materesi. Of course, if you think anyone else is going to get pole position, then say so in the YouTube chat as well. But make sure to get a vote in on that there in the chat on YouTube. Yeah, I think Eric Nonimaka would be another surprise shout. But anyway, I'm being mimed to go down for dinner, Stevie. So I'm going to leave qualifying in your capable hands. And hopefully I should come back in the middle of hypercar qualifying just before the start. So looking forward to it. But Ley up in that first sector.
Yes, he sure is. Alexander Ley seemingly very quick on this track in his white and black Lexus there. 2.5 tenths quicker than his provisional pole. It is also a purple sector 2 there. So he is on a good lap here. Alexander Ley coming through the third and final sector. Such a flowing and rewarding track if you get it right there on the exit on the final straight. It's looking very clean, very nice indeed. Alexander Ley currently P2 in the championship, 9 points behind Giacomo Materesi. This a good result here could see him right back up the fight for the championship at the end of the season. Seemingly he has quite some pace in that Lexus at the moment. And to find the corner he goes. And it is good enough once again for provisional pole position by 7 tenths of a second. Alexander Hanna has put it in P2 at the moment in the Lamborghini. Nonimaka now goes P2 as well. But Alexander Ley putting in a 201.222, a very competitive lap time, very quick lap time. They're going over the curbs and the grass even. He is not slowing down at all here. He could be a very good shout for a pole position here tonight. Nonimaka once again puts it in P2, 4 tenths down, so a great lap by him as well. There we have him in the purple Ferrari. Alexander Hanna 7 tenths down at Peru, also 7 tenths, well, pretty much 8 tenths down there. There's Alexander Hanna and the striking red Lamborghini. The championship leader, Giacomo Materesi, 9 tenths down on provisional pole position in P6. So he has some work to do here in the closing minutes of this session. There we have him. And Jean-Baptiste Thomas, also a front runner usually, although he hasn't scored too many points so far. As he hops into the pit lane, I think that it's his qualifying done, I feel like, but only P7 at the moment. Hanna, however, is still on a flying lap. It is looking much better in his current lap time. 1.5 tenths down on Alexander Ley. This could be good enough for P2. We'll find out in about 20 seconds time. As Manisha now goes second as well, 2 tenths down on Alexander Ley in the Corvette, the only Corvette in the field, but seemingly the American car performing very well here in Sebring on the Florida coast. Alexander Hanna coming through Sunset Bend. What is it going to be? Currently in P5, P6 even, and it will be P5. So one position up, 5 tenths down. Alexander Lee. His barrier now goes third as well. And Alexander Lee puts in an even quicker lap, 2:01.0. So a very quick lap time by Alexander Lee. He's looking pretty much unbeatable at the moment, with only Manisha within 4 tenths of a second. Barrier P3 on 4.5 tenths. Nonamaker P5 on half a second. There you have Ayrton Manisha, a very nice P2 at the moment. There's Barrier, the fellow Lexus driver and teammate of Alexander Lee. But he's not able to beat him tonight, I don't think, as the GT3 qualifying is rounding up in just a few moments' time. 2.5 tenths down on his on the provisional pole, and also not quicker than his own personal best. So I doubt this will be good enough for a pole position here tonight. Hugo Perrault also have a second down, so I doubt we'll see any more improvements at this stage of qualifying. Those tires are at their best at the moment, pretty much. I think the YouTube chat is gonna get it right at the moment, because Alexander Lee has the most votes there with 38%, and I think he might just get it. Giacomo Matressi, however, he is on an improvement here. Currently P9, so a second down on his championship rival Giacomo Matressi, but this could see him right up there. Can he close the gap to Alexander Lee in the white Lexus through the final corner? The number 27 car. Can he get close enough? And it's only P7 at the moment. So Giacomo Matressi, huge news for his championship, only a P7 during qualifying, 8 tenths down on his rival Alexander Lee, who takes pole position here in Sebring. Matteo De Bueno is improving as well, but I don't think that will be good enough for pole position. No, it's only P8 for him as well. So huge news there for the championship, as Alexander Lee takes pole position. Manisha is continuing, but given his sector times, I think, there we go, 2 seconds down. So this is not a flying lap at all at the moment. So that's Alexander Lee who takes pole position here in LMGT3, followed by this man on your screen, Ayrton Manisha, who takes P2 in the Corvette. A nice job by him. Barrier in P3, the fellow Lexus driver, 4 tenths down. Nonamacher P4, Alexander Hanna P5 in the end, 6 tenths down. Perrault P6, Matressi P7, De Buono P8, Kalkov P9, and Thomas P10, with Vianney, Kapsic, and Canton, the P11, 12, and 13 here on the grid. So it is it sets Alexander Lee up nicely indeed for the coming race. As we now make our way to the hypercar qualifying that will be coming up in about 2.5 minutes here. Let's take a look at the race results at Qatar 3 weeks ago at this point. Johannes Pryce taking the win in the Peugeot, followed by Leonardo Passoni in first of the Ferraris, 22 seconds down. So a dominant win there by Johannes Pryce. Matteo Bassan P3, closely behind Passoni there in also the Ferrari. Moritz Ulrich P4, Matteo Da Campo P5, Lucas Kreutzer in the BMW in P6, Marvin Butzin P7, Niklas Ulrich in the Toyota P8, Rick van Aarle in P9, Belko Batram in P10. Well, Rick van Aarle here is still in the Lamborghini, but I do believe that he has made a switch to the Cadillac V Series after this result, his first and only points on the board back then. So he loses those 2 points, but he is now in potentially the quickest car in the field after the latest BOP changes. So we're going to keep a close eye out on him. Let's see how well he performs. These are the championship standings. Johannes Pryce also in the lead there in the Peugeot on 58 points, 13 points clear of Leonardo Passoni in the Ferrari, with Brendan Geitz also in the Peugeot on 33 points in P3. Marco Balteram P28, P4 with 28 points, and Matteo Bassan following him closely on 27 points in P5. Giuseppe De Noia in P6 with 20 points, and Lucas Kreutzer in P7 with 18 points. Matteo De Campo P8, Maritz Ulrich P9, and Niklas Ulrich P10. Both Ulrichs are on equal points. They're not related though, so don't let the surname fool you. But they're on equal points, rounding up the top 10 of the hypercar standings. So just as we had with the LMGT3 qualifying, there is a poll once again in the YouTube chat. So if you feel like it, fill it in and predict who takes pole position here tonight for the hypercar field. The choices are Matteo Bassan, Marco Bertram, Giuseppe Di Noia, and Johannes Price. Of course, if you think anyone else is going to get pole position, then please say so in the YouTube chat. And if you haven't already, do a thumbs up. It always helps us out here at VMS. We get hypercar qualifying underway in about 15 seconds time. There we go. So set us up nicely for the race with tricky conditions, as we mentioned before. It's a 6 p.m. start, so it's going to get dark rather quickly. And with the rain going on as well, this should be very exciting as we get qualifying underway in a few moments' time. There we have the hypercars out on track, and that's Rick van Aarle, you can see in P2 there in the Cadillac V Series. And all the very colorful Ferrari 499Ps out on track as well. It's by far the most popular car in the field, but is it the quickest car? Well, we're going to have to wait and see how that works out. As you can see, all these guys are already on their first flying lap. As I mentioned, the start of the lap is right after sunset bend, so straight out of the pit lane you start your flying lap. So you will see those lap times drop drastically over the course of this qualifying session as well. You see Matteo Bassan starting said lap, leaving around to warm up those tires as much as possible. Coming through turn 1. So lovingly named turn 1 as well, very original. Makes it very easy for us to remember the name of said corner. It's Giuseppe Di Noia who is in the lead of the hypercar field in qualifying at the moment. He's first out on track. He's the first to make his way through sector 2 here. Just trying to keep it as clean and steady as possible. At the moment we don't want to take any unnecessary risks, of course. For those of you who joined us at the Silver Race 2 days ago, we saw one of the front runners there crashing during qualifying. He did end up taking P5, I think, in the end. It was Nico Notta, but he did have a crash during the early stages of qualifying, so that's of course not what you want to see. Not an ideal way to start your qualifying session. 8 minutes to go. So all of these drivers are warming up their tires as much as possible to start their first real flying lap here tonight. You have Niklas Ulrich in the very bright purple Toyota hypercar. So we go on board with Giuseppe Di Noia through turn 1 up towards turn 2. And the very slow speed corners, they're very tricky in the hypercar. Very easy to accelerate a bit too much and lose it on the rear. Don't go too wide here as well, but taking a lot of exit curve. Very nice indeed. Through the Gurney bend, here we go, towards the hairpin. Going up to the brakes at about 300 meters. There we go, hard on the brakes. Don't lock up the tires. Nicely indeed. And early on the power through the front jaw chicane. Up towards Cunningham, and it's 8 tenths down in sector 1 already from his first time lap. On the brakes again through Cunningham corner into Collier curve towards Tower. We hear the V6 engine on this Ferrari 499P through Tower on towards the Flying Fortress straight. Very fitting name, of course, with the track being well, this track used to be an airfield during World War II. So the concrete you see is well, pretty much 80 years old at this point. So a very fitting name for a very bumpy and well, I love this track personally. It's an amazing track. As we see Di Noia coming through Bishop towards through Le Mans on the Almond Straight towards Sunset, and it's going to be the first competitive lap time here tonight for the hypercar field. It's looking nice and tidy so far. 2 purple sectors still. And it is a 44.9, so a decent lap time out of the box there by De Nooijer. Rick van Aarle goes quicker still with a 44.7. As I mentioned, the Cadillac looking very nice indeed at the moment in LMU, so I'm not really surprised to see him up there, but it is a good performance by him out of the box with a 44.7, straight to provisional pole position. It is Ulrich now in P3, Kreutzer P4, and the other Ulrich in P5, a second down, as those guys will come through to set their laps as well. It is Sobers P6, Passoni P7, Bassan P8, Fedeli P9, and Beltran P10 at the moment. Johannes Price not having set a competitive lap time just yet. He is in P11, 4 seconds down, so we will keep an eye out on him. As there we go, he comes now into P4, 4.5 tenths down on Van Aarle. De Nooijer, however, is setting a good lap time here as well. It's currently at purple sector 1. What can he do through sector 2 here? Touching the glass just a little bit there. See more people moving up. Ulrich now P3, Passoni P4, and Geitz move down to or into P5, and Pride's down in P6 at the moment. It is not as quick through sector 2 and is moving into the pit lane, so potentially changing those tires real quick, and Rick van Aarle also jumps into the pit lane, so potentially changing those tires out here and getting in one final run within the next 4.5 minutes here. It's Ulrich in the white and blue Ferrari also jumping into the pit lane, so that seems to be the strategy that most of these guys are going for. Passoni, meanwhile, is setting a purple sector 1 here in his Ferrari. Looking nice and tidy so far.
Indeed he is, Stevie, so sorry, I was just looking
Jump
for a natural moment to pop in there. But anyway, hello.
Welcome back.
Yeah, Passoni definitely pushing as he goes through tower turn, pushing a little bit too far as he goes quite well off track there. Just about 2 wheels kept on it though, so he's lost a bit of time in that middle sector though. So yeah, a lot of the Tatum drivers pushing to try and catch up to Van Aerle, and it definitely seems like we saw in Platinum Split, the Cadillac is the package to have around here. And Van Aerle, who was no slouch in the Lamborghini, his fortunes absolutely transformed at the wheel of the yeah, it seems that all the American manufacturer cars seem to do well at Sebring. Who'd have thought, right? As we see Brandon Geitz actually go second fastest in the Peugeot. So that's crucial for the man that is third in the championship, who won the season opener at Fuji. He'd not really had the best time. I think he's missing the last round, of course, and was only down in, I think, 6th in Imola as well. As we see Passoni setting a decent time, but only good enough for 5th fastest at the moment then, as he swings it through for another attempt in that number 66 Ferrari.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys end up in the final order compared to the guys who went to the pit lane and changed tires. So in a few moments time we will see the likes of Van Aerle and Geitz, and I think Price as well. There we have him. He is out on track once again. Brandon Geitz is improving even in his Peugeot. So let's see if the strategy of changing those tires halfway through the qualifying session will pay out for these guys. So far, it is looking like Brandon Geitz is on a good flying lap here.
Indeed it is, but he's going to be good enough to beat Rick Van Aerle, as we see going through Tower Corner into the final sector through Bishop's Bend into Le Mans. He is 2 tenths down, but on a personal best, so he could get just a little bit closer here as he goes through turn 16 and onto the Ullman straight. Then this is going to be a big overtaking opportunity. In fact, he slows to the inside. Is that Brandon Geitz giving up the ghost then? Going back to the pit lane with 2 minutes to go. There's just about enough time to get out and do another run, but it's going to be marginal then as Van Aerle towards the line. He's not as quick on this particular lap, despite the purple sectors at the bottom, but he's still at the top of the timing sheet, and that's exactly where you want to be. He's traded in his bright green Lamborghini for the bright red Corvette then, so he's certainly a big fan of the colours that catch attention, and now it's his lap times that are doing the same, aren't they?
Well, the colours on this car do make it easier to spot him, that's for sure. Now I think that's qualifying over for Brandon Geitz there coming into the pit lane, because I don't think he'll be out on track quickly enough to set another lap time in. So that's P2 at the highest for him. As Rick van Aerle goes through sector 1 one more time here. I think it's one more time. And with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, it's purple sector 1 once again. So he's going quicker still here in the Cadillac V Series. Oh, losing the rear there almost.
Yeah, struggling to get it through Cunningham, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is. So he is really wrestling that V8 motor there and looking very competitive here. Of course, as we mentioned before, it's looking very nice for him.
Indeed it is, but he's got to seal the deal through Bishop. He goes that fast left-hander. This is sort of before the pit entry. You can see the line on the inside, which is going to be relevant come the race, as he's 800ths down in that middle sector. So it's all or nothing now. He's got to make sure there's no threat from behind. The Cadillac is so strong here, and Rick Van Eyl, I've seen him in hypercars at Sebring before, in R-Factor 2 for example. He is mighty fast around here, absolutely adores this circuit, and it seems it in turn, as he goes through Sunset, is treating him rather nicely indeed. Then at the final corner, he comes now through Sunset Bend towards the start-finish line. What would it be for Rick Van Eyl? It is 144.533. So yes, he goes slightly quicker. Brilliant final sector. He is 4/10 clear of Brandon Geitz, and that could be a colossal pole margin unless anybody can do something about that.
Yeah, that's a very impressive lap by Rick van Aerle in the Cadillac, and I think he's going for it once more time. I think he had like 6 seconds to spare coming through. So it's finishing.
It's a bit marginal.
It is a bit marginal, but I think he is able to put another time on the board here. So let's see what he can do for his final run on towards the hairpin. But he's looking more and more likely that he's going to claim that pole position there. So as you guys mentioned in the YouTube chat, the pole might be a bit impossible to predict. There we go, purple sector once again. Van Aerle is flying here tonight on a track that he seemingly adores, as you say.
Yeah, this is sort of magician pulling rabbits out of the hat and saying, now for my next trick. It's like he wants to go even faster. So let's see if that pans out for him. Yeah, definitely 4 choices. Nobody predicted the Cadillac would do this well. I think a lot of people underestimated Rick Van Eyl going into this one. And certainly the race could well be a different story, of course, because we know Rick Van Eyl in the Lamborghini had a habit of chewing through his virtual energy in the first stint, didn't he? He had a better race in Qatar before it all sort of started to go away from him near the end. I think his strategy wasn't really the one to be on, and that's been the big Achilles heel. So he's got to get the strategy right. And at Sebring, it should be a one-stop for everybody, so that makes it a bit more straightforward. But he's going even faster by he's ringing in the neck of that Cadillac as he swings it through, just avoids the wall on the inside, and is now going towards the start-finish line for the final time. What's it going to be? A 144.533. It remains the same. He's slightly slower, I think, in that final sector by 2/10. So there we go. Even Rick Van Eyl cannot outdo himself for a 3rd time in succession. So he'll have to be content with being on pole by just the tiny margin of 0.4 of a second, which is in fact massive.
Yes, very impressive stuff there. I think he was 40 thousandths of a second slower on that second lap, which still would have gotten him pole position by a huge margin in the end. So very competitive stuff by him.
Stim Prince saying, Rick Van Eyl pole, not surprised. I should have put my money on this. What do I win? And Virtual Motorsport Series says, a crisp high five. And Stein says, okay, I'll take it. So there you go. That is the grid decided, Stevie. And a pretty intense qualifying session. Was it late on pole in GD3? I was sort of in the middle of curry, so
it was, yeah. And well, I hope you enjoyed your curry. That sounds lovely indeed. So it was Alexander Lee on pole position in LMGT3 by around the same margin as we just saw Rick van Aerle put it on pole as well. So both pole positions being very dominant by Alexander Lee and Rick van Aerle there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they perform in the race with both of their cars seemingly performing very well here tonight.
And because Rick Van Eyl has changed cars, so the few points that he had, he's not really a championship contender as things stand at the moment. But on the other hand, Alexandre Lay very much is, being second in the points. Only, was he about 8 points behind Giacomo Matrese going in? No, it was 9, wasn't it? Yeah, 62 to 53.
And Matrese qualified only like P7, I think. So there are some good points up for grabs here for Alexander Lee.
Indeed, and Matrese, much like we saw in Imola early in the season, has got quite a lot of ground to make up. Then hopefully there's some drama from his point of view ahead of him that he can take advantage of. But anyway, now might be a good opportunity to breeze through the grid order if we've got the graphic. We might not do, so we just have to remember it. So, okay, right.
We can do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, one at a time. So yeah, okay, we know Rick Van Earl, pole position. Okay, GT3's first. All right, let's do it that way. Okay, Alexandre Lay, as you say, 3/10. So actually, that really puts into perspective the job he did here. Artyom Manisha is second, just under 3.5 tenths down. Then is Valentin Barrier in the second Lexus in third. It always seems to be those three in qualifying. Lay, Manisha, Barrier in some order or other. Eric Nonemaker is fourth, half a second down on pole position. Then Alexander Hanna lines up fifth ahead of Hugo Perrault. I think that's Perrault's best qualifying of the season so far in P6. Jack Matrese, championship leader, down in P7 ahead of Matteo De Buono. Valentin Kalkov is ninth on the grid, and Jean-Baptiste Thomas rounds out the top 10. Then our final three drivers on the GT3 grid are Nico Viani, Maciej Kuschik, and Davide Canton, who's 1.6 seconds off the pace. And meanwhile, in our hypercar field, Rick Van Earl in that Cadillac, 0.423 of a second clear of Brandon Geitz in the Peugeot, who is a winner in this championship. Moritz Ulrich, who was fourth last time out, he starts third on the grid. Great qualifying from him, just a thousandth of a second behind Geitz's Peugeot. Giuseppe Di Noia disconnected while fighting for second at Qatar. He lines up fourth. Leonardo Pisoni is in a season high of fifth on the grid. Marco Beltrami, another one of our winners from Imola, he lines up sixth. Johannes Price, championship leader, down in seventh. What is it with championship leaders qualifying in seventh, Stevie? I don't know why that keeps happening. Lucas Cruiser lines up eighth. Matteo Passan is ninth. And Nicholas Ulrich, of course, not related to Moritz Ulrich, but it's a very common last name. He rounds out the top 10. And I think that is our hypercar field done for us. We're about to see the field take place, and this is where the rain might become a factor, Stevie, as predicted, because we don't know, we don't think it's going to start wet, but it may well fall at some point in the middle of the race, and that could dictate. In fact, you can see the moisture itself immediately, and a lot of the drivers starting on wet tires, so that immediately disproves everything that I was in the middle of saying.
Happens to the best of us.
Indeed it does. The lights are on, and we're about to see our field in the gold split roar into action here at Sebring. Rick Van Earl on pole position. Can he maintain that with Brandon Geitz alongside him? Here we go. Our hour-long sprint at Sebring is underway. Giuseppe Di Noia has made a good start. He's trying to go around the outside of Ulrich and Geitz, and it's Moritz Ulrich trying to go for P2 up the inside. Geitz breaks late round the outside, super late. He's going for Van Earl here. He nearly loses it through the first corner there, and they all somehow survive. As look in the background, Pisoni has made it up to fifth. He's muscling. He's trying to muscle Ulrich out the way for fourth position there. Manisha has gotten the Corvette into the lead past Lay and Barry. Oh, is that Matrese in trouble? He spins off. Oh,
I think so, yeah.
Viani, Matrese and Kalkov, have both hit the barriers there, and that could be disastrous for the championship leader.
Big news there with Matrese pretty much, well, out of contention at this point. I think he lost his rear wing there as well.
Dele spun it as well.
P2. Yeah,
in the middle of the GT3s.
So that's terrible news there for the GT3 Championship leader, who is, well, pretty much out of the points at this point. Di Noia now in P2 in the hypercar, so he moved his way up from P4 in P2. It's Brennan Geitz now in P3, losing out of place. It's still Rick Van Aare in P1 though, 8 tenths clear. And Barrier now in the lead in LMGT3, 2 seconds clear already. So as you say, like Manisha there, also losing the lead there and spitting out. So
I think I saw Fidele going off at Cunningham there. There we go. He is out of the race then. So a terrible first lap in the pouring rain for Fidele. And I think he may have got mixed up with some of our GT3s as well, because the lead just keeps changing there. But for Hugo Perrault, the waves have absolutely parted for him to get up to P2, haven't they? Oh, look at this. That is Ulrich and Geitz fighting over P3 now, but Di Noia and Van Earl are making a bid for freedom in front of them. So who's going to come out on top here? They can barely see anything in the spray of the car in front of them. Round the outside comes Moritz Ulrich. Brandon Geitz tightens up as they go towards the apex. Pisoni is right behind them as well, and Moritz Ulrich has made it through to P3.
Well, great stuff here going on by these guys. It's so tricky in these conditions to keep the car in one piece. As you see the rain pouring down here in Sebring, with Brendan Geitz now in P4 ahead of Pisoni. But these are insanely tricky conditions here in Siki. Oh, see Ulrich sliding all over the place. Brendan Geitz there, sliding all over the place through turns 1 and 2. These are well, it's going to get even more hectic, of course, with the traffic coming up in a short while, of course, as well. So we can only hope that these guys keep it on track in one piece for the next 57 minutes that we still have to go in this race.
Yeah, Moritz Ulrich is absolutely flying out there. The Peugeot looks absolutely horrible to drive in these conditions because it's slipping around all over the place with poor Brandon Geitz. And you can see behind, Johannes Price has not had much luck either in his Peugeot. Then the championship leader still, I think, down in P7. Might have actually lost a place or two. He's now right on board with Alexander Hanna trying to get past Matteo Di Buono here. And yeah, of course, is a big opportunity here to gain points on the championship leader, especially for Barrier. Hanna is going up the inside of Matteo Di Buono here, but Di Buono gets good traction on the outside here as they go offline through Fangio on the long run towards Cunningham Corner and Collier, which is turns 10 and 11. Hanna is going to try and dive up the inside into Cunningham, and Matteo Di Buono has just able to cover it off in time here. And they've got Vianney, you can see just up the road in front of him with Lay, who's looking to assume the championship lead. He is down in 4th behind Nonimaka though.
Yeah, these are the conditions where the excellent drivers prepare themselves from the very, very good drivers here. As you see Alexander Hanna lining up a move once again. Ooh. He's looking a lot more comfortable in these conditions compared to Matteo Di Buono in the Aston. He goes deep there in the corner as well, cutting the corner just a little bit. But Alexander Hanna is looking very comfortable indeed. He did lose out 2 places there at the start. He started in P5, but at the moment...
Ooh, Kuschek!
Oh, yes, there we go.
Yeah, Kuschek muscles out Di Buono, the 2-4 special
P12, I think.
Yeah, but Kuschek is really excelling in these conditions, as indeed we actually saw a great performance from him in the wet conditions in what was the gold split in, I think, the first season. Essentially, as Matteo Di Buono goes wide, is that going to open the door for John Baptiste Thomas? Yes, it is. Baptiste Thomas, who started in 10th, is up to 7th as well. So a couple of these wet weather specialists are absolutely starting to excel in these tricky conditions. Then Van Erl, by the way, is leading by 1.5 seconds over De Nooijer. He is absolutely sprinting away while Giuseppe De Nooijer is defending from Moritz Ulrich like his life depends on it. And Ulrich is very, very close now as they go towards Cunningham Corner. He's going to dive up to the inside. Is it going to be enough to get through? Yes, it is. De Nooijer is forced to give way there, and that was very, very well planned from Moritz Ulrich. Had a great exit from the hairpin, but nearly gets tapped in the back. I think there was a bit of contact between the two through Collier there.
Great stuff here by Moritz Ulrich, who moves up into P2. He's ahead of De Nooijer, that is. So De Nooijer falling back just a little bit after a great start that he had. Started out in P4 there. Brandon Geitz, the number 3 in the championship, started out in P2, but he is still defending very hard against Pisoni. Like you say, the Peugeot seemingly not very competitive in these conditions, as we see Ulrich going very wide there, and as well as De Nooijer, both of them going into the grass there on the exit of Le Mans. So now we have Brandon Geitz there down the outside of De Nooijer, trying to set up a move there, as De Nooijer made a mistake on the grass there on the outside. Can he make it stick? I don't think he can at this point.
Oh, that's too risky, surely.
Yeah.
He does indeed back out then. Sorry, I don't know whose go it is, but there we go. Brandon Geitz setting up another attempt there. But look at the lead in GT3 for Valentin Barrier in that Lexus. Nearly 5 seconds clear of Hugo Perot. So all the chaos has absolutely played into his hands. And there is the other Lexus of Lay down in 4th, right behind Eric Nonimaka, and desperate to get back onto the podium. Vianney and Hanna have not really made too much progress here, but look at this. Lay to the outside of Eric Nonimaka's Ferrari, then into Sunset Bend. They're right behind Hugo Perot, and I think Perot, if anything, is starting to hold them up. Here comes the 87 around the outside of Nonimaka in the 42 Ferrari, and Lay, I think, is setting up a move into turn 1. He's not going to get clean around the outside of him through Sunset then. So again, Nonimaka defends the inside and forces Lay to go the long way round. Then into turn 1, he's going to try and swing it through here. And again, Nonimaka just releases the brakes and blocks the way. There's the rear view mirror. You can see Vianney closing on both of them as they fight each other.
Yeah, great defending here from Eric Nonimaka in the Ferrari. But it seems like Alexander Lee down the inside now for turn 2. Can he get the move done this time around through the Gurney bend? I think he has just enough traction there to get the move done fully. But Alexander Lee looking like he has a lot more pace in the car at this stage in the race compared to Nonemaker, who is defending very hard here indeed. It's around the outside is not usually a place you want to go around the outside of. But he... Oh, Nonemaker on exit. Has a terrible exit there. So this is pretty much the move done, I think, for Alexander Lee, who stays on the inside, which will become the outside for Cunningham, I think it is. And he gets the move down there very nicely, as we can see from the onboard of Nico Viani. Meanwhile, in the left hand, he goes wide there. He goes a bit deep. I think.
Yeah, late on the brakes. It is not ideal in wet conditions, but somehow he has made it through, hasn't he? Has Alexander Lay back into third, and now Hugo Perrault may look a bit worried because one Lexus 5 seconds up the road, and the second is gunning for that runners-up spot in GT3 at the moment.
Yeah, both Lexus performing very well here, and of course, if you look at the championship, this is a great result already for Alexander Lee, because Materesi, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, is out of this race, same as Valentin Kalkov. So the championship leader in LMGT3 will not score any points here today. He won in Fuji, he won in Qatar, scored 12 points in Imola as well, but 0 points here in Sebring for him. So that's gonna hurt him a lot, I would imagine, for his championship aspirations.
Yeah, and you can see Giuseppe Di Noia has held up the rest of the hypercars, including Brandon Geitz and Pisoni. So that's allowed Ulrich and Van Eyl to sort of pull clear by 3 seconds, or there's still about 1.5 to 2 seconds between Van Eyl and Ulrich themselves. So the battle's continuing on. Is it me, or are we seeing the Tatum eSports train here behind? We got Pisoni, Marco Beltrami, the Imola winner, right behind him. And then we got Johannes Price in the second Peugeot, and then Lucas Cruiser trying to keep them all in sight here. So Tatum have got 2 cars that can block the path of Johannes Price. You saw Price going really deep offline into Tower Corner, just looking for the grip offline, maybe sort of planning a move 7 steps ahead of everybody else. But at the moment, he's about 7 places behind everybody else, which is not ideal for him in terms of track position, because Sebring, there are overtaking opportunities, but in the rain, you really have to, like we said, you have to set up one in advance and hope for a mistake in front of you. And now we're seeing Pisoni and Beltrami starting to be held up here and looking slightly frustrated. They know they could maybe get past Brandon Geitz if he wasn't getting a toe down the straight from Di Noia every lap. Yeah,
it certainly is looking like the Tatum train is out on track. Big slide there from Beltram there coming through the sunset. So Beltram, I feel like has a bit more pace here compared to his teammates, so he might be asking him to let him by at some point. You don't really want to be fighting your teammate there. Oh, this guy goes wide through the grass, losing a lot of time there to Di Noia that is ahead.
Yeah, and now because the Tatum cars were fighting each other, wasn't quite close enough for Pisoni to really take advantage of that. So he'll be ruining the fact that Beltrami's telling him to hurry up, because it's sort of had the opposite effect. And now Pisoni is just about close enough to think about a move, but Beltrami is under attack from Johannes Price now, just behind.
Yeah, this is close stuff here between the Tatum eSports cars and both of the Peugeots around them. And Johannes Price looking to get a move done here finally on Beltram, the championship leader, having pretty much no gains at all at the early stages of this race. There's still a lot of time to go, of course, but he needs to get these moves done if he wants to score some good points here tonight. His rival Pisoni is 2 places ahead of him, as you might have mentioned just earlier. So he could see his championship lead just decrease just a little bit after tonight. I do want to mention quickly Jean-Paul van Aarle in the YouTube chat saying nice one, Rick van Aarle. So given the similar surname, I would imagine that they are somewhat related. So we have some people cheering for Rick here tonight.
Who's commentated on both of the Van Eyls when they race together at level on esports. I can confirm that John Paul is definitely Rick's father, so you're supporting him in the chat. So there we go. You're absolutely spot on there, I think, with what you were about to say. I just wanted to preface it in case you were about to say something different, Stevie, but I think we're at the same
dying, so thank you.
Yeah, there we go. Somebody's not had dinner yet, have they? But anyway, sorry, not trying to be funny you for that, because it's not really your fault. But anyway. Oh, mistake there from Nonemaker, and that could allow Alexander Hanna through. Hanna making great progress up to P4. He's picked up Viani while he's been away, and now Kuschik wants a piece of the Italian. You can see just in front of him the Fast Life TV livery on the Aston Martin. Kustrick is going to try and dive it up the inside into Cunningham corner. Vianney tries to squeeze at the apex. There's just enough room for the Aston and the BMW to get through in one piece there. The lights flashing wildly in the heavy rain now. It doesn't look like it's going to let up before this race is over. So we are going to see one pit stop for fuel, you would think, and with the slower lap times, there might be a few that trying to leave it very, very late in the race by saving fuel in heavy rain, which you can do because the braking distances are increased due to the moisture on track, making a less grip essentially through some of these corners then. But Kustrick not able to overcome Vianney, despite the BMW looking like a pretty competitive package in these conditions. We saw his move on De Buono earlier, now he's got to do it on another Aston.
Yeah, Kaspersic in general looking very competitive in the race here. He started out in P12, if my memory serves me correct, but he is looking very feisty indeed throughout the race. Now, we did see in, I believe, Fuji in the Gold Split, the first race of the season, multiple cars going the full length of the race without making a pit stop. So at Fuji, at least, we know it is possible. So we might see some of them trying it out here today as well. I'm not really sure if the fuel consumption allows for that or not. But it is something interesting to keep an eye out at the later start. So Kaspersic going down the inside there. Vianney going a bit wide.
And Vianney just dips the wheel on the grass, didn't he? But he was just able to hold on there. So a good attempt by Kustrick to sort of get Vianney offline, but not successful in usurping the position there. As you can see, the windscreen wiper wiping furiously to clear the vision of Kustrick, who lets the rear absolutely hang out. He is looking very aggressive, and not just because that BMW looks like a giant compared to some of these other cars in terms of his height, at least. But yeah, Kustrick actually losing out through Big Bend and into Hairpin. He's not really close enough to dive up the inside, but he is close enough almost to kiss the camera that we're looking back at him from. So must Kustrick giving a friendly hello from the not so friendly looking BMW.
That was a great view there from the rear of the Aston Martin of Vianney, and Kaspersic looking very quick here. Indeed, he wants to get this moved on rather quickly. Almost.
He's so confident on the brakes, isn't he?
He is, yes. The brakes working wonders for him in that BMW, the Evo car that is, of course, with the updates this year to that LMGT3 car. But Kaspersic looking very nice indeed in the BMW. He could be on for a decent result here today. Meanwhile, Alexander Lee is still in P3, the championship potential championship leader if this result stands. But the LMGT3 leader and the race, Nicolas Barrière, is 10 or 7 seconds ahead already on the rest of the field. So he's looking very quick indeed here tonight. Same can be said for Rick van Aarle in the lead of the hypercar field, 3 seconds clear of Ulrich, who is on his side also 4 seconds clear on Di Noia. So those two guys are in a league of their own here tonight. We are now on board with the guides in P4.
While we are watching this, let's just keep half an eye on that GT3 battle between Alexander Hanna, who's catching Alexandre Lay. So the two Alexanders fighting over third position, Lamborghini versus Lexus. But as you rightly say, Brandon Geitz desperately trying to hold on to that fourth position and keep Di Noia in sight in front of him. There is Hanna in the visceral Lamborghini. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as the visceral Valkyrie that Kopi Chan drives in the Platinum Split. But yeah, we can't have all alliterative teaming car combinations, can we? As there, look at interesting, we're now starting to see them lapping the back markers in GT3, so this could be a nice opportunity here. We are seeing Van Aert continuing to pull away from Ulrich, and Ulrich keeping the gap at steady at 3.5 seconds to Di Noia, but it's behind Di Noia where things can get very, very tasty indeed if a GT3 appears from the gloom at the wrong moment here.
Yeah, that's not what you want to have in these conditions. There we see the LMGT3 traffic for Brendan Geitz there, who is following Leonardo Passoni closely through turns 1 and 2. The traffic here playing a huge part. It always does, of course. We always mention it, but especially during these conditions, it's very easy to go offline just a little bit too much and lose out big time compared to the slower LMGT3 cars. You can see the times fluctuating quite a bit in the left-hand side of your screen, jumping all over the place between the cars. So very easy to lose out some time here, but it's also always better to just lose a few seconds behind a slower car than lose the front nose of your car, for instance. So you have to manage this very nicely indeed, be as careful as possible, and just live to fight another day.
Oh, you can see the move going on the rear view mirror there. That's Aetion Manisha trying to pass Jean-Baptiste Thomas there. And that's Manisha who led for all of about half a second before getting involved in an incident that's put him near the rear of, it's just inside the top 10 then, trying to displace Jean-Baptiste Thomas. So good attempt there. Baptiste Thomas goes wide again. I wonder if that Corvette is still nursing damage from the first lap though. But Aetion Manisha, definitely not the giving up kind, as he dives the Corvette up the inside, arrests a huge slide, and now more blue flags. So this is part of the problem. Every time he gets close enough to mount a move, the next hypercar shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's close stuff here from Manisha, who started out in P2. Of course, like you said, he had a terrible first lap, spinning out and losing 8 places at least, as we see the Taylor eSports cars making their way through with, this is Nicolas Ulrich in P11 in the purple Toyota as well. So this is the final hypercar runners making their way through these LMGT3 traffic for the first time. It is, well, you can see the spray there on the main straight. It's so difficult to see the cars around you, but they're all managing rather nicely at the moment. Kaspersic here, still in the rear of Nico Viani for what will be P6, and I'm sure he's going to get it at some point. The Ferrari making his way past. Whoa, Guides there on the inside. I think it's Guides.
I think so, yeah, because that was Dinoy just in front of him. Oh, really tough to get the acceleration down there and not hit the back of the GD3s there. So good avoiding there as we ride on board with Pisoni trying to keep Guides in sight here. But yeah, visibility, you can see on the windscreen how low visibility is. Non-Immaca now in the way of Marco Beltrami at the hairpin. That's a Pisoni, sorry, that's being backed into his teammate Beltrami. That's going to allow Price to close in again. Kuschik still not able to get through. Here comes Lucas Cruiser right behind them. Cruiser goes up the inside on the approach to Cunningham, and Viani might be momentarily delayed, which could give a small opportunity there, but I don't think Kuschik is going to be able to take advantage of it. So the Polish driver still stays stuck behind as we look at Price in the 805 Peugeot. Just not really able to make an impression on Beltrami despite the traffic giving small opportunities here and there. It can be just a little bit too risky. We now see Nicolas Ulrich rather than Moritz Ulrich, who's still in P2, chasing down Rick Van Erle, but not really to great effect at the moment. 20 minutes in, and it really feels like the battles at the front are starting to stabilize. Look at Valentin Barrier's gap to Hugo Perol. Barrier is looking very, very good for his first win of the season if he can keep this kind of pace up.
Yeah, that's insane stuff by the Lexus driver. His teammate is in P3 still, so both Lexus performing very well here tonight at Sebring, as we have 14 minutes left on the clock, but almost 10 seconds is his...
Oh, he's there! That's the 99.
That's the 99.
It's Beltrami facing the wrong way.
Is.
Oh dear, and that's a huge blow for the man who won at Imola. And he's come out just in front of his other teammate, Matteo Pisant then. So luckily nobody hit him, because spinning sideways at sunset is definitely a bit of a death sentence here, especially in the rain as they go either side of Alexander Hanna. Oh, and Hanna just squeezes Pisant ever so slightly without, I think, really meaning to. And that opens the door for Nicolas Ulrich in the Toyota.
Very close stuff there. I thought for sure Hanna was going to get spun out there into turn 1, but I think we saw the into the sunset corner. We saw Alexander Lee having to take avoiding action there to avoid Beltram, who spun out there in the final corner. So potentially some the weather catching him out there on the corner entry.
It's so bumpy as well.
It's so bumpy.
Yeah. It's a nightmare.
It's. Yeah, you can kind of count on it going wrong at least at some point during the race, and there we saw it going very wrong, almost going very wrong as well for the potential championship leader after this race. But luckily, nobody else got caught out by Beltram, who is still out on track, currently in P9.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Viani has been defending well from Kuschik, and they are actually starting to close on Non-Inmac. You can see in the purple and black number 42 Ferrari just in front of them. I forget whether he drives for a Swiss team or the flag is because he's a Swiss driver. It's always you said hedge your bets. Okay, definitely a Swiss team then, so we'll go with that. But look at Kuschik then, really starting to put put the magnets on the back of that Aston Martin there, and it really is a case of trying to use the strengths of the BMW. The BMW is very, very good on acceleration, and it definitely seems good on the brakes, the way that Kuschik has set it up here. So it's really just figuring out some of these corners in the wet, which is the main problem here. And the fact that Vianney is starting to predict his movements and what he's trying to do here. So Non and Maka getting dragged into their fight could be the sort of unknown factor that allows Kustrik to take advantage here.
Yeah, but it could also mean that Vianney gets just a little bit more slipstream here and is able to defend a little bit better compared to Kapcic. Well, the BMW looking very nice indeed in these conditions. So, as the youth says these days, the BMW is sniffing its way past here, or at least tries to, the Bimmer. So, we're going to keep a close eye out on him during this race. We see a lot of support for him in the YouTube chat as well. So, that's very nice to see.
Indeed. It is then. So, yeah, certainly a lot of fans of Kustrik. I think it was at this race a couple of seasons ago that everyone told me I was saying his name wrong. I think I was saying Kasperzik or something like that, but it is Kustrik. So I have corrected my speech pattern.
Well, I don't think it's possible to say that even worse than I did for the first race.
There's a lot of consonants, not a lot of vowels. But anyway, that's sort of the way in Poland. So you sort of end up having to adapt when you commentate on a lot of Polish drivers. Then, as we see, here's an Italian driver, Pisoni, man, full of passion. Then in the pouring rain, trying to find a way past Brandon Geitz and Giuseppe Di Noia, another fellow countryman in a Ferrari here. So it's really the Peugeot that's the odd one out from this pitch, and you can see that the gap to Ulrich is nearly 8 seconds now. So they are being absolutely dropped out of the fight between the top two here. Ulrich has been able to occasionally match the lap times of Van Eyl, but it'd be interesting to see what the remaining virtual energy is on some of these hypercars at this point in the race as we're approaching half distance. Is anybody going aggressive? Are they all trying to take advantage of the wet conditions to pit as late as possible, if indeed any of them are thinking about trying to do the non-stop and get to the end because of the rain? We know in the dry it's not a viable strategy, as all Geitz has a little think about a dive on Di Noia, but Di Noia cuts across him, blocks off that path, and now the Peugeot is sliding its way. He's had to compromise his line, and Pisoni is right on the back of him and trying to go around the outside into turn one.
Yes, this could be a move done by Pisoni here around the outside, but I don't think he goes for it just yet.
It's compromised
again on the inside. Whoa, almost making contact there.
Yep,
but
the door firmly closed.
Yeah, Brennan Geitz defending with tooth and nail there, and he shuts the door right on his nose there.
The problem with that is it's allowed Di Noia to escape up the road by about a couple of tenths of a second. The gap 9 tenths, 1 whole second now. You can see in the background Price, now that Beltrami's spun out of the way, has got a clear run on Pisoni, but he is a couple of seconds behind then. We'll have to see if he can up his pace. Maybe Brandon Geitz can slow Pisoni down then. Pisoni definitely looking like he could be that a little bit quick. I think the problem is that they're sort of in reverse order of their speed, essentially. You've got Di Noia, who is probably the slowest of the three, holding up Geitz. And then it looks like Pisoni is the quickest, but he just can't find a way past that Peugeot. And he's got another Peugeot closing him down as a result. Yeah,
this is going to be very interesting to see where the Peugeots can end up at the end of this race. I'm just looking at the chat there with the VMS saying that Morris Ulrich is currently the lowest on virtual energy in the hypercar field on 55%, so not even halfway through. So I do imagine that most of these guys are going for a zero stop here tonight. So not
definitely
trying to
an hypercar.
Definitely an hypercar at least. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's the case as well with LMGT3. I would say so, because usually those cars can last a little bit longer out on track. But at least in the hypercar field, you can see most of them, or pretty much all of them, going for a zero stop here tonight.
Yeah, I love that shot down the Ullmann Straight Oval, just emerging from the gloom with the headlights on full blast. It's one of the many joys of a wet race at Sebring. You can see the amount of rubber left offline from the from the GT3s, and of course the earlier spin we saw at sunset there from Beltrami, who's now he's fended off Ulrich. He's right behind is that Mattia De Campo he's fighting with for P8, sorry. So they're some way behind Lucas Cruiser. Then you can see here Pisoni, the frustration for starting to build, because of course he hasn't got his teammate bothering him behind, but now he's basically all alone. The usual Tatum eSports supremacy that we've gotten so used to seeing in more recent rounds has started to fall apart, hasn't it?
Yeah, the Tatum train seemingly has come to a halt at a station where they did not expect to come to a halt. So at the moment it's just Pisoni on his own there in a Peugeot sandwich, it seems like. But De Nooijer there is still not too far up the road as well. So the battle for P3 is nowhere near done at this stage. However, I do feel like that Van Oerig and Moritz Ulrich and Rick van Aarle are in a league of their own at this stage. Maybe if it dries out at some point, we never know, of course. We could see that gap closing down just a little bit once again. But at this stage, it's looking very good for those two.
You see ATL Miniature, as we just cut him, going through Sunset. He was having to almost go full opposite lock to save that massive slide there. That Corvette looks all over the show. Look at him, it snaps midway through turn 1. So no wonder he's got no confidence on the power here. But he's certainly giving Baptiste Thomas a bit of a tough time. Meanwhile, Lay has now started to catch up to the back of Hugo Perrault in the battle for second. But they're 10 seconds off the lead. And Lay is in a similar position to the one that we saw Pisoni in, because he's being caught by Alexandre Hanna in the background the more he gets stuck behind Hugo Perrault. And Perrault is one of those drivers that's actually surprised me a bit today, because we haven't really seen a whole lot from Hugo so far this season in memory serves. Where is he in the championship? I don't think he scored a single point. Yeah, he hasn't. He didn't start in Imola, but he finished outside the top 10 in both Fuji and Qatar then. So this is a really, the rain opened the door for him. He qualified quite well in the top 6, top 7, didn't he? And he's absolutely made hay of the opportunity while the others have crashed into each other. I think Jack Amatrese is definitely going to be arguing with, it was Kalkov, wasn't it, that he collided with at the first turn of the race then. So we only really saw it happening in the background, so I don't think I can really confidently judge who hit who was at blame. I'll let the stewards figure that one out. But look at this battle behind Giuseppe De Nooijer. It's really starting to tighten up here. Geit's looking closer than he has in a while, and Pisoni is just waiting for the fireworks to start. As look at that, Brandon Geitz tries to go around the outside of the hairpin, but finds the way blocked by that number 50 Ferrari. De Nooijer defending like crazy, and has he worn the wet tires out a little bit too much in this first stint?
Well, it would be very much the case here, as we see the gap closing down even more. Oh, Geit's almost going around the outside there, or at least trying to take a look there, but seemingly having a lot more pace in the Peugeot at the moment. It might just be drying up a little bit, potentially. I don't see any wipers on these cars, so maybe the drying conditions are suitable for those Peugeots here, who didn't have too much pace in the extreme wet that we saw at the early stages of this race. But right now, they're coming alive just a little bit more, it seems like, at the moment, with half an hour to go.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating if it does dry out, actually, because do you try and make the non-stop work go to the end on decaying wets on a track that's bone dry, or do you pit for the dries and then try and catch up? So that could be a fascinating dilemma in terms of the strategy. But for these four, they are all dueling away for track position. And the problem is, when Geitz goes for the sort of outside line, it opens the door for Pisoni as well, if he can't make it stick then. So he's got to pick his battles wisely here. Otherwise, it could blow up in his face, quite literally.
It sure could. Also interesting, of course, if it does dry up, and we don't know for sure, of course, but if it does, then who knows if everybody is able to make it on their virtual energy that we discussed earlier. Right now, it is still Ulrich, I think, who is the lowest on that virtual energy. But with a drying track, the consumption will be a lot higher as well. So this could grow through a spanner in the works for some of these guys in the end, after all. So we'll have to watch out for that. Meanwhile, I did take a look at the incident between Kalkov and Materesi at the early stage of this race. I think it was just some minor contact between the two through turn 1, and then a wheel banging, and which ended up both of them spinning out. So very difficult to see from this point who was at fault there, but a very unfortunate incident for both of them nonetheless.
Absolutely. As we see, Kuschik is finally having a go at Eric Nonenmacher. Looks like Nico Viani's already made it through. They're going side by side into Sunset, but it will be Kuschik that has the inside in the BMW, asserts his way through, forces Nonenmacher to go the long way round there. That was very, very forceful, but it's too late on the brakes. There we go. He's gone a little bit wide, and he's going to have to try and hold on into turn 1, but he can't do so. Eric Nonenmacher just let Maciej Kuschik walk into that one, unfortunately. so it's going to have to take a more concerted effort to make it through on the Ferrari. And all the while, Vianney is Vianney has got dropped behind them, I think, because this is the fight for fifth.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so Vianney is
something happened to Nico Vianney.
7. Yeah. Not really sure what happened there, but it does mean, indeed, as you can see, that Kapsic is now up into P6. He's all over the back of Erik Nonnemaker.
Vianney's out.
Ferrari. Oh, he is.
There we go then. Wow. So clearly he's either been disconnected or had a massive accident that we missed. But nonetheless, that's really been beneficial for Kuschik because it clears the way for him to attack Nonnemaker. That first attempt not successful, but he's still got another 27 minutes to think of another solution here. He can use the strengths of that BMW. Maybe he can just scare him off the road because it looks, the amount of red on that car looks like the blood of his victims or something like that. It does look very brutal when you see it emerging from the
It is almost Halloween, so...
That's very true. In a couple of days, isn't it? 5 days.
It is, yeah.
Here we go then. But still another 27 terrifying minutes to go then. As Alexander Hanna closing on Alexandre Lay and Hugo Perrault then. Perrault has done really, really well on that Aston Martin, the blue and black Aston, to keep these two title contenders basically at bay. But the Lamborghini is the big question mark here. Can Alexandre Lay, we saw him save fuel masterfully at Fuji, didn't we, to narrowly miss out on victory to Matrese. No Matrese this time, and Lay does not have a great exit onto the Ullman straight here at Le Mans chicane. Hanna pulls to the inside. Can he get the Lambo onto the podium here? Hanna is definitely going to push for it. He's got a clear run up the inside. Will Lay pull across? No, he won't. He leaves the gap for him, but it's late on the brakes. He's going to try and dummy Alexander Hanna into doing what Kuschik did, but Hanna is too smart for that. He gets the car turned in, and the Visceral Lambo is up to P3. Great move from Alexander Hanna.
Yes, lovely move there on the inside of Sunset Bend. So a mistake there from Alexander Lee on the exit of Le Mans curve, and it will put him on the back foot massively through the final corner of this track. As we're now 26 minutes to go, and the track is really starting to dry out at this point. You can see the dry lines starting to form. So I think we might see some of these drivers opting to go for a dry tire at some point as well. The slicks performing a lot better, obviously, in the dry conditions. So this, depending on when you choose to go for that tire, could mean a lot for the outcome of your personal race. So going to be interesting to see who makes the correct decision regarding that, as we see Kasprzic once again lining up a move on Erik Nonnemaker, looking into the hairpin, but he's too far back at this point.
And you see how wet it was offline as well there. It's a spray.
Yeah, you can see the spray, yeah.
So that is one thing to worry about for those considering a switch to the dries then. But if you're someone like Etienne Manisha, who's now stuck at the back of the pack, you may as well take a risk then, because otherwise you're almost certainly basically going to finish as maybe P9, maybe P8 if John Baptiste Thomas makes a mistake under pressure. But he's 14 seconds down. Oh, very, very wide from Nonnemaker, and that's the opportunity that Kuschik was waiting for. He goes through into P5 right before the race leader, Rick Venel, comes through to lap them. And Venel looks like he's been stuck to be caught by, that must be Moritz Ulrich then.
Yeah, the gap has come down quite a bit there between the race leader and Moritz Ulrich there, 1.5 seconds. So it was, I believe, at 4 seconds at some point, as Ulrich now has to make his way through the traffic. Oh, gets held up there by Kasprzic through the Bishop, and going to be a bend. Oh,
make a bit of contact almost.
Yeah,
you could tell he's been stuck behind for so long. He was not eager to give up in a hurry. What's happened to Denoy? He's been overtaken by all three of these drivers. Geitz now into P3, Personi P4, and then you've got the other Peugeot named right behind of Johannes Price then. So yeah, Denoy has clearly made a bit of a mistake and fallen down to sixth position from third place.
Yeah, losing out big time to the 4 cars who were behind him at some point. Potentially those tires just giving up a little bit with the drying conditions, starting to overheat a little bit.
Oh!
You can see the
brakes into sunset.
In the mirror there, yeah. You can see him diving down on the inside in the rear view mirror of the Peugeot. Still a lot of water on the off lines there. You can see the spray coming up as the Van Aarde there coming through the traffic there. I think a bit of luck up there on the inside of the car, but he makes his way through. That's Alexander Hanna right up front. We're on board with Alexander Lee, the provisional championship leader at this point.
Yellow flags out there somewhere, as you see now Ulrich being held up by our podium battle. That's the battle for second between Hugo Perrault Alexander Hanna and Alexander Lay. You saw actually as Van Earl was coming through, it really split Alexander Hanna and Lay. So Lay in the Lexus probably being a little bit frustrated by that one, as Pisoni is thinking about a move up the inside, but he knows it's like driving on ice if he attempts that one, and it goes wrong, but a little bit wide from Brandon Geitz. He's in the Peugeot sandwich, or the Peugeot breaded sandwich, I should say, and that's not ideal for Pisoni. He has got to get through quickly here, otherwise he could get swallowed up from behind.
Yeah, this is intense stuff for Pisoni. He needs to get this move done rather quickly here. He is right there on the exit, losing the car almost. His tires are not working for him at all in these drying conditions, and Pisoni looking to have so much overspeed at this point. This is close stuff here for Price, who needs to get the move done in order to maintain his championship lead. Of course, Pisoni right ahead is his closest rival on 13 points behind, so he would still keep that lead at this point, I think. But every point counts in the end, so if he can get ahead of him at a later stage of this race, it would be really nice for him indeed. Meanwhile, Geitz is now in P3, as you mentioned, 18 seconds behind Moritz Ulrich in P2. Those two, Van Aerle and Ulrich, are in another class of their own at this stage, but can they keep it that way during the drying part of this race? We can only wait and find out for the next 22 minutes. This is going to be some intense racing, I feel like.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be tense. We see yellow flags, I think, in the first sector there, as that might just be some of the slow GT3s getting out of the way. But yeah, Price looks a lot more confident now. It's started to dry out now in these sort of mixed conditions rather than when it was fully wet. His Peugeot seems to come alive right when Geitz is starting to falter here, as Pisoni has a little half think about a move up the inside into 2 and 3 as they go through Gurney and now into Big Bend. But you can tell Pisoni is terrified about losing out behind. As we see Denoy has had a big off. He's down to P11 then. He's completely dropped out of this battle.
Yeah, that's a terrible race from him, and I think that's him out of the race as well, yeah. So that's a DNF for Denoya, who is in P6.
Pisoni wide. He nearly hit the back of Geitz, and that's almost going to allow Price up the inside. Price just gets his nose almost cut off there by that Ferrari, the Tatum eSports one in the middle there. Number 66, he's really pushing, and Geitz is defending in turn as they have to pass Hugo Perrault, who's now on his own. I think we're seeing GT3s either have hit trouble or in the pits, because Perrault is running in a very isolated second. No sign of Alexander Hanna or Alexander Lay behind him.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. We're going to have to find out at some point. But this battle for
might have been why Denoy is out as well. Might have something to do with it.
Hanna is in P10 at this point, so he was up there in P4.
Lay has lost about 8 seconds to Perrault. Yes, right ahead of Koscheck.
That might have been indeed, like you say, what happened. Alexander Hanna is out even. I think that's him in the garage. So a terrible race for him there.
And there's Lay being overtaken by the 51. So it's not done yet, as you're now about to see the other Ulrich, Nicholas Ulrich, trying to make his way through as well. And Koscheck probably feeling a bit annoyed by this as well, because he's had to just fight away with hypercars rather than with his competition. But now this is the fight for the final podium spot, essentially. So it's started to fall Koscheck's way in a way.
Yeah, I think so. He started in P12, as we mentioned, but now in P4, only half a second behind Alexander Lee. So this is setting himself up very nicely for a good result here, which would be an amazing drive by him. Whoa, there goes through the grass. Geitz there. He's struggling a lot at this point.
Yeah, he is just backing them up. And look at the... it's still 18 seconds to Ulrich in front of them, so it does seem that Moritz Ulrich is starting to struggle a little bit, as well as the gap to Venel balloons back out to 3 seconds. So is anybody going to risk it on the dry tyres in this dying part of the race? Only less than 20 minutes to go, or are they all committed to this strategy? They're going to stick it out, play it safe, and try and eke out the fuel and virtual energy to the end.
I think you kind of have to at some point. If the track is bone dry, then there's no grip at all for these tires. Will just overheat and wheel spinning, and there's no grip at all basically. So I think at some point these guys kind of have to go for the slick tires. As you can see, Kapsic, I think, who is trying to get some water on his tires. They're trying to cool it down a little bit. As Lee goes a bit wide there. But Kapsic looking very nice indeed. He could be on for a podium here rather shortly.
Yeah, the problem is nobody wants to be the first to go for dries, because if you do it a couple of laps too early, suddenly you're struggling to build tyre temperature and you're just sliding around, aren't you? Whereas those that pit a bit later, maybe if you're reacting to everybody else, it's a less risky option. You can see exactly visibly when the track is ready. There's no guinea pig to base the lap times off of, essentially. So you're sort of stuck here. If you're Mathieu Kustrick, for instance, you're stuck in this situation. Personi very, very close to the back of Price. And I think Price has made it through for P4. There he goes up the inside down the Almond Straight. So Personi's had an issue through Le Mans chicane, and he's had to sacrifice that 4th position. As a result, it's not gone Totem Esports' way tonight. They are back out of podium contention now if he can't find a way back through here.
Not done yet though. Personi now on the outside of turn 1, trying to go for a move there, but he backs out for now, almost hitting the back there of Johannes Price. The championship leader now up into P4, but Personi is not letting him go just that easily. Still trying to take a look there on the inside. I think Personi has a bit more pace in the car, but he just made a mistake, like you said, at some point, which made Johannes Price get the move done. But I think Personi has a bit more pace in the car than his current position would tell the story, would say so at the moment. But if he can get the move done, only time will tell, of course. But I think that's
look behind that 66 as well. Lucas Cruiser is not far behind either in his BMW then. So if these guys keep fighting each other, it can absolutely play into his hand. He's been sort of lying in wait a couple of seconds adrift, letting them all fight each other, slowly catching them. Could Cruiser be playing it smarter on field than any of these guys?
He's this Bimmer is sniffing around, trying to catch up the final podium. I'll stop with the puns. He's trying to take a look for the final podium position here with these guys fighting all over the place. Of course, it could end up in tears very easily in the end. Let's hope it doesn't, but you never know. Meanwhile, Kapcic is closing the gap again to Alexander Lee for P3.
I wonder if Lee has damage from the incident.
He might have, yeah. Well, he did have to take avoiding action when I think it was Denoya who spun around in Sunset, so he might have hit him over the barrier.
Wasn't it not Mathieu Bassan? It was the other one, wasn't it? I'm getting my Totem Esports drivers mixed up. Beltrami. MB. Yeah, I always get my MBs mixed up. Marco Beltrami, Mathieu Bassan. But there we go.
Yeah, so he had to take avoiding action there, so he might have caught on some damage there. I'm not too sure.
Van Earl, I think, is going in the pits, because look at that. Ulrich is taking the lead in Hypercar. Has Rick Van Earl potentially hit trouble? He's dropping down the order, but it's not showing him in the pit lane. Let's have to see if we can catch him on cameras anyway, as we see Kustrick continuing to pressurize the back of Alexander Lay. But it would be very surprising, actually, if Rick Van Earl was the first to pit there. I don't see him in the pit lane. I think that might be him genuinely. Either he's had an accident out on track that we've missed, or he's been disconnected there. That is heart-wrenching if so.
Well, it shows him in P10. Yeah, so
40 seconds off the pace and dropping. Yeah,
that's him out. Yeah,
disconnect.
That's a disconnect. Yeah,
he confirms such an amazing job.
He confirms it in the YouTube chat as we speak that it was a disconnect. So very frustrating for him, looking so dominant all race with a very nice pole position and 3-second lead at this point, but disconnecting out of the lead. That's this heartbreak for him.
Yeah, he had it all under control as well. He was pulling away from guides with just over 15 minutes left to go in the race, so we'll never know what could have been. Now promotes the rest of the hypercar field up a place, of course, but that is bitter disappointment. And but the good news is that Cadillac was incredibly fast in the hands of Rick Van Earl, and of course Sebring is a very good track for him, but it's not the only one that he's quick at. I think we haven't heard the last of him, so I would take the encouraging signs out of today that he performed well. He said in the chat, "What a game!" But I think that's just what the unfortunate realities of a new sim, isn't it? Like Le Mans Ultimate, which is relatively new compared to something like R-Factor 2 or iRacing that's been around for about a decade and a half or so, depending which one you're talking about. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully, like I say, we will see him back again, because that was an incredible performance. 4/10 clear in qualifying. I think that really says it all about the job that he did today. And of course, that's no disrespect to Ulrich, who was only a couple of seconds behind him. He's done a very, very solid job as well, but I think even he would admit it would have been difficult for him to beat Rick Van Earl without that disconnection.
Yeah, for sure. Well, his first race in the Cadillac proves that he has some amazing pace in this championship. So let's see what he can do in Interlagos and Spa, the final 2 rounds of this season. I'm sure he can get a good result in there. Well, I'm sure he can put the car in a good position there. As we see once again. Also
Wide on the curb.
He is, yeah. It scared me for a second. He is looking very close once again, but he lost a bit of time there on the exit. Otherwise, he might have lined up the move. I'm struggling here a bit. Jesus. Might have lined up the move after all.
We're both on holiday, aren't we?
Well, yeah. I somewhat had a holiday, but I'm not rested out enough, it seems. But there we go.
Look how close Lay was towards the wall at that final corner there. He's understeering like crazy in that Lexus. So clearly he is not enjoying life, and he's not closed on parole since the incident as well. It's stayed about 8.5 seconds. Meanwhile, we're not talked about much, but Davide Canton has just overtaken recently, so not just ATO Manicha, but Jean-Baptiste Thomas as well to get into P7. So fair play to Davide Canton. He is absolutely putting a bit of a charge here in these late phases. We know Manicha may be damaged, but I don't think Thomas is. So that is an impressive performance then from the Frenchman. Oh, as in comes our two Peugeots. So are they gambling? They've got to go for dries here, surely.
Yeah, I would say so. You're not switching to new wets at this point. So a huge gamble there by both of the Peugeots who removed themselves from the battle for P2 at that point. It would be, I think, with Van Aerle.
It was second and third,
race. It was, yeah. So
nobody else following their lead. So that tells you the Peugeots are really starting to run out of wet tyres, and they were like, we've got to roll the dice here, otherwise we could be in trouble, because Cruiser was starting to catch them. And look at the sliding on Pisoni's number 66 car through turn 1 there. You can tell the rears especially have been through a bit of a beating in the opening 50 minutes or so of this race. They've still got 11 to go. Which of the Peugeots is going to get out first? It's Johannes Price, the championship leader. Let's leapfrog Brandon Geitz there with a clever strategy. So he's clearly putting a bit less virtual energy maybe.
Yeah, it's still very wet out there on the pit exit, as you can see the spray coming up, and now it is.
Those are dries, aren't they?
Whoa, they are, and it goes very wide there with the lack of temperature in those tires. He misses the wall just about. But it was very close to the wall there. Oh, you can see them sliding around there.
Yeah, this is going to be crucial to their race if they can A, stay out of trouble and keep the tyres as warm as possible, because if they are sliding around all over the place offline, then they could be in a world of pain right now, and this will be music to the ears of Pisoni and Cruiser, who have now got to make sure that while they're on, before it gets too much drier, they pull the gap before they pit, and Moritz Ulrich, is pitting from the lead.
Yeah, so more guys now taking the gamble here to go on the slick tires for the final 10 minutes of this race.
Maybe it's less of a gamble. Maybe this is the safe option if the wets are decaying.
I'm not too sure, because it's only 10 minutes left, so that's about a lap or 6 at this point, I think. So it's not that long to go in this race. So if this gamble pays off, we will find out soon enough. But both the Peugeots and the leader of this race are in. So that means that Leonardo Pisoni now is in P1. There's Lucas Cruiser now in P2. So it is once again a Tatum eSports in P1 at this stage.
It's incredible that Cruiser has spent most of the race lying around in P6, and all of a sudden he's up to P2 with one disconnection and 3 guys pitting in front of him.
But now it's up to him to keep it that way, of course. He is still on the wets, as you can see, with the blue marked tire there. But if he can keep it that way, well, it's pretty much up to him if he moves away with the podium here tonight. We see Bassan trying to get a move done on Ulrich there. It is,
I think he'd been stuck behind Nicholas Ulrich for quite a while, hadn't he? And he's finally gotten back through, essentially, because him and Beltrami had just been sort of looking at back at the purple Toyota for pretty much all evening. And now finally one of them has made a bit of progress here. But yeah, this will be interesting. It's all very deep, nearly hitting the back. So it's a good thing that Toyota is built fairly short, otherwise he would have ran out of car there. Nonetheless, he is in the slipstream as they go towards the hairpin, but he backs off. There we go. And that maybe tells you that he could be running to the end and trying to save fuel and virtual energy.
I think so. I think if you don't come into the pit lane at this point, then it's not really worth it to go into the pit lane at all. So we're seeing a lot of gambling going around here at this stage, with Pisoni, Cruiser, De Campo staying out. And, well, I think it's Ulrich in P7, sorry, the first on the slicks. Yeah, this is Beltram P6 there, so that's the final weather running car. Nonamaker now comes in the pit lane as well. He is also on the wet tire, but he will go to the slicks as well, I would imagine. So some cars in GT3 also taking the gamble here to go to the slicks for the final stages of this race.
Well, Nonamaka makes a lot of sense because he was basically stuck behind Kuschik since he got past him and was just watching the two-ahead duel. So it sort of makes sense to roll the dice, go for the dry tyres and see if you can catch that ground up if they all just start falling off the road on worn wets or end up having to reluctantly pit themselves if they can't get the fuel to last.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I really... Oh, you're still in the pit lane at this point, so...
Yeah, it did look like Ulrich,
yeah,
Price and Geitz lost a lot of time by pitting because look, they're about 21 seconds behind Beltrami, who's the last of those yet to pit, and he's fighting ahead with Nicholas Ulrich as well. As finally Nonamaka exits the pits. Here comes Beltrami. He fancies a go at Nicholas Ulrich. The Toyota looks like it's really starting to struggle in this phase of the race now that the wets are sort of running out of tread here.
Yeah, I think the Toyota has been struggling for pace all race long, but now with the Tatum eSports cars around him, it really shows that the Toyota is not really the fastest car in this game anymore. Unfortunately, it's a beautiful car that he's driving, but he lacks some pace at this stage compared to the Tatum eSports cars. Just looking at Nonamaka's pit stop, it appeared that he was in the pit lane for a long time there, so I'm not really sure if his pit stop went according to plan at that stage. But he is out on track at this stage, at this moment. Ulrich now is losing time to Bassan, who is 2 seconds up the road, and Beltram in P6 is trying to get his move, get his way by here. Oh, potentially going down the inside, but he sticks behind for now. But I think it's only a matter of time before Ulrich loses out on P5.
Look at Moritz Ulrich. He's actually falling away from these guys. He's gone from 18 seconds behind to 20 seconds behind. So
yeah,
the dry tyres are just struggling at this point. And you need to be gaining loads of seconds per lap. They're losing time here. Could Moritz Ulrich have blown the win by pitting?
I think at this point that staying on the wetter tires is the right call to make. Because those guys don't seem to be able to get as much temperature in the tires as they would want to. Oh, a big slide there for Beltram.
We're seeing more GT3s pitting. That looked like Baptiste Thomas and David A. Canton. So both of those, they don't think they can get the fuel to last. I think a lot of the guys who pit expected everybody else to follow suit, and now they're starting to panic, seeing that some of them are trying to get to the end.
I think Thomas went in for fuel, there, side by side through the pit lane, of course.
And seemed to go in.
Lets him go.
Yeah, that was quite sensible there.
Yeah, and I think Thomas only went in for fuel because it was a very short stop by him, so he didn't change tires at all. Let's see if
he's
Canton
wiggling. Yes. So to say, this is my position now. I waited a long time for this. You're not getting it back.
Those are wet weather tires, though, so I think they're both staying on the wet weather tires at this stage. I think
that's the advantage of letting Nonamaka be the guinea pig, essentially, because they've seen his pace and thought, we're better off sticking on the wets because there's just not enough time for it to dry up. Barrier's pinning from the lead, so surely he's going in for fuel as well. Oh! What? Big hit there was that Price. No wonder he's not catching the cars in front then.
I think it was Price, yeah. He hit the wall there on the exit of Sunset, so he is still trying to get some temperature up in those tires at this stage, and he's not really closing the gap at this point. It doesn't seem like the gap between the two teammates is still 5 seconds, as he's now catching up to Thomas and Canton, I think it is, right up the road. There we go. But the Peugeots, I don't think their gamble has worked out here in the end. I think they pitted a bit too late to get this done, as that is Lee in the pit lane as Barrier exits the pit lane, so both the Lexus drivers into the pits.
in as well.
He is
from the lead, so he couldn't get the field
to
last. Has Cruiser come in too? Because I think he's a couple of seconds behind. I think he has. There we go. So who on earth is leading now in Hypercar? Then we see Barrier has come out. De Bruyne has decided to stay out, but Ley is going to lose a bit of position. Yeah, Mattia Di Campo then. Could he, out of nowhere, playing it so conservatively, be staring down a win here? But he's got Matteo Bassan all over the back of him.
Yeah, this is close stuff here. This could be the fight for the win here, pending. If
at the moment it is.
At the moment it is, but we're not sure, of course, if these guys have to make a pit stop after all. But out of nowhere, pretty much, De Campo is fighting for the win here. Matteo De Campo is in P8 of the championship, is yet to take a podium this season. But right now, he is fighting for the overall win in this race. Same with Bassan, who only scored the podium 3 weeks ago in Qatar, P3 there. So this could be a very good result for both of them. Meanwhile, Ulrich is still in P3, and I don't think that is the net race leader. It is, yeah. So he's also yet to make a pit stop.
So by playing it safe, actually, and letting people get past him, Ulrich has found himself in P3, holding up Beltrami. So actually, this has worked out quite well for the other Ulrich. So we were watching the wrong one, clearly.
That's the issue that you get when you have two people with the same surname. You never know which one to follow. But he is currently in a very nice P3 indeed, with Beltrami in P4. So,
oh, and look at this. That is Cruiser ahead of Moritz Ulrich. Moritz, who was leading so much race, has seen Cruiser jump him effectively by pitting later.
Yeah.
And which tyres is Cruiser on? Is he still on the wet? Up the inside comes Moritz Ulrich. There we go, but he's gone way too deep. Offline, this is not enough grip at Cunningham Corner. And back through goes a very grateful-looking Lucas Cruiser into P6.
Yeah, Cruiser is still on the wet tyres there, so he did not change the tyres to slicks. But as you see, that's not Cruiser who made the move, but the other car making the move. He goes offline onto the wet patch there and loses all sorts of grip and goes very deep there indeed. So he is still in P6, I think it was at the moment. So I think in the end, the staying on the wet tires is the way to go at this stage. Here we go, a move from Beltran potentially on Nicholas Ulrich for the final podium position here. He's so too far back at this stage.
Let's set up the situation in terms of both classes. So our top four are all staying out there, all gambling in Hypercar. I think Pisoni is the first of those who pit, and he just pit for fuel, not for dry tyres, which we saw just a moment ago, an example of why they're not all that effective. In GD3, De Bruyne is the only one, I think, gambling as Beltrami. Oh, looks for a way through on the inside, gets cut off there. Bit of contact. Ulrich is off track, and that's going to allow Beltrami through. But Nicholas Ulrich is not going to be happy about being knocked out of a podium position in that manner.
Yeah, I think it would be wise to give that place back at this stage. I think it was a bit optimistic to go for that move there, and I think he might let. No, he doesn't. That might be something that the stewards want to take a look at the end of this race, but we will find out, of course, at some point.
Well, he will argue that Ulrich turned in on him and then got sent off as a result. So
let's just say it's up to the stewards.
He's flashing his lights. Clearly, neither is all that happy with the other. I think Nicholas Ulrich has been bumped around. He's like surprised that he's in P4 at this point, as Bassan is starting to be dropped a little bit by De Campo. He was closer earlier in the lap, but it does look. Oh, has the rain come back? So that's even worse news for the dry runners in the dying minute of the race. Then, so yeah, this is turned out very, very badly for previous championship leader Price. Brandon Goetz third in the championship. So this is going to blow it wide open. Pisoni, all of a sudden, by pitting a bit later and hedging his bets, could be on for P5 and potentially the championship leader as a result of this. It's all topsy-turvy, but full credit to Valentin Barrier in GD3. He has not pulled a foot wrong and is miles clear of the rest of the pack, as we are moments away then from seeing De Campo take his first ever shock win. Oh, but Bassan is all over the back of him.
Not done yet. There we go.
We are going to get one more
lap.
He can't back off here, surely, because he's got Bassan all over him.
Yeah, I think there's one more lap to go. Yes, there we go. So the clock is down to 0 at this stage.
Matteo De Bruyne had to pit on the very last lap. Oh, that is gutting for him. But he had to gamble, didn't he? It was a valiant attempt, but Hugo Perrault is going to come through and take a very deserved second place. I think Lay and Kuschik are also going to get through. So De Bruyne may potentially not even finish in the top 5 here.
Yeah, that's well, it's a shame for him. It's a great drive by him, nonetheless, during this race. But he is now coming out of the pit lane.
Doesn't have to put on much fuel, at least.
No, that's for sure. I think we will see the GT3 leader coming through to take the checkered flag momentarily, if I'm not mistaken.
Hypercar first, though, surely. Yeah, we're waiting for De Campo to come through. Still got Bassan all over him.
I was confused with the clock already down to 0. Not sure, but yeah, there we go. So
look at that. Bassan knows this could be his best chance of the season to win. He was third last time at Qatar, fourth the race before that at Imola, and he is now looking at one place better, second place, but he wants the ultimate prize. He wants victory, and Matteo De Campo, who so far his best result was also at Qatar, where he finished, I think, in 5th. he has not had a whole lot to shout about this season, but the Italian desperate to put his name into the winner's book and to climb higher into the top 10 past Lucas Cruiser, Giuseppe Denoy, and Matteo Bassano himself. So a big topsy-turvy swing in the championship here. Bassano's got one corner to go. Is he close enough? Oh, look at this. Passoni having a go at Nicholas Ulrich, and he gets through the Le Mans chicane on the final lap of the race there. Brilliant opportunism from Passoni, who could well be our championship leader, but who's going to be our new race winner here? Neither of these two have run before. It's just a run to the line to go, and it's going to be Mattia Di Campo that wins a dramatic gold split race by going all the way to the end without pitting here at Sebring. Mattia Bassano falls just short by a second at the flag. Beltrami will be third. Passoni brilliantly gets his way up to fourth and beats Moritz Nicholas Ulrich, I should say. He also does beat Moritz Ulrich for the good record, but here comes Valentin Barrier. Well, he was second fiddle to Alexandre Lay in a couple of races this season. Not the case today. He wins by a tremendous 31 seconds over Hugo Perot. What a brilliant result for Valentin Barrier. Lexus on top once again.
Yeah, an amazing drive by Valentin Barrier, who lost out to Alexander Lee in qualifying. Lee getting a pole position by 4/10, but he's only in P3 at the end of this race. Hugo Perot, meanwhile, as you mentioned, he is currently in P19 in the championship, but he gets a very, very well-deserved P2 here at the end. So he climbs up the championship ladder.
Canton got back past Baptiste Thomas. Look, he's in P6 now.
He is, there we go. So Canton is in the blue Aston there, still fighting for P6 here at the end of this race. And Manisha in P8 at the end. He qualified to P2 just over an hour ago, but it was not the race that he would have hoped for.
You can see Nonamaker's had to make another stop for wets, so going for the dries was absolutely disastrous. That could well have been maybe even a fourth, fifth, maybe even a podium if he had stayed it out on the wets then. So but by such fine margins, sometimes if you're in that position, if you don't risk it, you regret it. You sort of spend the rest of the night wishing that you'd taken the gamble because otherwise I was going to finish basically fourth or fifth no matter what. So it's that kind of mindset that often affects your decision making as they come through to finish, and Nonamaker slams it into the barrier. That's a very unhappy looking number 42, and not just because it's in pieces.
Yeah, I don't think that was the race he would have hoped for, but it is the 1 hour here at Sebring done. A very hectic and entertaining race, as you said. Shall I do the rundown? Do you want to do it?
I'm fine either way. I think the gaps are a bit inaccurate, but
they are. But let's just run it down. It's Valentin Barrier who takes the win here in LMGT3 at Sebring by 30 seconds in the end. So a great drive by him. Hugo Perot takes his first points of the season and also his first podium here in P2, followed by Alexander Lee, who is now the new championship leader in LMGT3 after Giacomo Materesi failed to score any points here today. It's Kapcic who takes a very nice P4 in the end, fighting his way through from P12. Matteo De Bueno, P5. Davide Canton in the end, P6 ahead of Jean-Baptiste Thomas. It is Manisha in P8 after a dramatic lap 1 as well. Erik Nonemacher is the final finisher in LMGT3. With Alexander Hanna in the end DNFing. He is still in P10 here, but I don't think he will score any points for that, unfortunately. But he had a great race, but he lost out at some point. We didn't see where, unfortunately, but he is a DNF. Same as Nico Viani. Giacomo Materesi, as I said, our previous championship leader, and Valentin Kaukov, who Materesi had contact with on lap 1, both out before the end of lap 1. Matteo De Campo taking the win in Hypercar is the first win of the season, followed by Matteo Bassan, very closely following each other over the finish line there. Marco Beltran P3, Passoni in P4, Nicolas Ulrich P5, and Moritz Ulrich in P6. I think it was Moritz who ended up losing the lead or the win of this race even by going for the slicks there, taking a wrong gamble. Lucas Kreutzer also gambling on the slicks in P7 with Johannes Prijs and Brendan Guides.
Kreutzer gambled on the wets, but he did pit.
There we go. So he didn't gamble. He did pit, but he stayed on the wets. Same cannot be said for the both Peugeots, Prijs and Guides, both in P8 and P9. So that's a championship leader. Prijs scoring just 3 points here tonight. That's not what he would have hoped for. Same for Rick van Aarle, a dominant qualifying by him, led pretty much all the race until a computer disconnect put him out of the race, unfortunately, but his pace was very promising, so I'm looking forward to see what he can do at the final 2 rounds of this season. Giuseppe De Noia in P11, also a DNF. Sachin Sobers, P12 DNF. And Antonio Fedeli, also a DNF in P13. And I think
done there, Stevie.
Thank you very much. I had some practice.
Sadly, though, nobody waiting for us in the interview room, so I might just put a very, very quick anyone want to talk to us message. Hopefully it doesn't sound too lonely. Somebody's put a screenshot from the stream of a very wet-looking BMW Cuss right up the back of Nico Viani before Viani had his incident, so that's lovely to see. But they've said I can just tag everyone. Because oh no, actually no. Anyone for an interview, maybe. I'll just I'll do more neutral rather than tagging a load of people that weren't in the race. I'm holding the microphone, by the way, so this might take a while. We're typing in the other hand. It's not my good hand.
Oh, maybe everyone has already switched to Formula One, of course. But
oh, that's true. That's true. They might just be spoiling the race during the interview. Can you imagine that? Yeah, no takers, it seems. I could try getting DeCampo, because I'm sure DeCampo, it would be lovely to hear from him about his strategy. And, of course, Valentin Barrios, our new winners. That's Matteo Di Buono. Matteo DeCampo, there we go. And Valentin Barrios should be easy to find. Oh, it's just him and Kalkov that have the same first name. There we go. Sorry, I'm sort of speaking through as I'm doing this, because it keeps me focused.
Oh, good. But I think it was a very entertaining race. I think.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think we've been very lucky in Gold Split because we had a brilliant opener in Fuji. I think Imola was a little bit strategic, I will say, because the Lexuses dominated that one. And then Qatar was again another more strategic one. So it's great to see it. Well, I say strategic, but strategy was key in that final stint. Really, whether you pit for the wet dries or stuck it out on the wets and tried to just keep the virtual energy and fuel in one piece. I feel a bit for Matteo Di Buono because he almost had that second place, but he still got P5. It was still a gamble worth going for. So I think you got to praise the sort of the bravery of that one. And indeed, Matteo Di Campo and was it Bassan that was second, wasn't it? And both of them putting in a brilliant performance to round out that podium then. So Tatum, they had the right strategy in the end. They had us all fooled.
They sure did, yeah.
As indeed did De Campo.
Well, I do feel for Rick van Aerle, of course. I think he's a fellow Dutchman of mine. So
I wonder what Rick would have done in that final. I'm convinced he would probably try. If he had seen Ulrich pit behind him, he would have tried to get to the end.
I think he would have done so, yeah. So, but I think his pace was very, very, very strong indeed. So I'm interested to see what he can do in Interlagos, which is the next venue we will go to, and I think it's 2 weeks' time from now on.
Believe so. Yeah, let's have a look. Gold Split Interlagos 9th of November. So that is about 2 weeks from now. But in between then, what have we got for you, lovely ladies and gentlemen? We have got the next weekend. This time next weekend, we've got the 4th Platinum Split event of the season at Qatar on the 2nd of November. Any others we're forgetting? We have got Bronze Split at Fuji on the 31st of October.
Yeah, and I want to do a special plug for the bronze race, because the bronze at Fuji is going to be a special one. We have multiple new drivers in the bronze split. A few of those are Jessica Hoffman and our very own Omet, who is producing the stream at the moment. Both of them are female drivers participating in the VMS. So always very nice to see more women competing in this in motorsports. And on a personal note, my brother is also joining in the bronze series from next week on. So I'm going to be commentating on him as well. From the next room.
So you've gotten to know all the participants so closely, Stevie.
Yeah, it is exactly. I live at this point. I live with one of them even. So you know.
But it's going to be. We're going to hear his mid-race interviews in the background, surely in the microphone.
There we go. Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. But as you say, brilliant to see a bunch of female drivers being involved as well, becoming an increasingly more commonplace sight in sim racing, which I think is exactly the way it should be. There's some brilliant female sim racers that are finally sticking their neck out and putting themselves on the line in high level competitions, and a lot of them end up doing a lot better than many would have expected going in. So that's always really, really good sight to see. But unfortunately, nobody wants to be interviewed just because Mexico Grand Prix is in full swing, and unlike at my place, some people seem to have pay TV and are able to watch it. So I've only got highlights, so I have to make do with that. So you'll next be hearing from me and Chris Buxton on the Platinum Split on the 2nd of November, if indeed I get home from my holiday day before in one piece, which I'm certain I will. But anyway, so congratulations once more to Matteo Di Campo and Valentin Barrier, our first-time winners, and everybody who got to the end of a very, very treacherous fourth round of the season at Sebring. So the Gold Split will carry on for the final 2 rounds at Interlagos and Spa, 2 absolutely classic tracks, so make sure you don't miss that. I've been Edward Hunter, he's been Sverri Coleman, and our broadcast is directed by the wonderful Amet. Thank you very much for watching,